Good morning class. Today I'll start with the next principle. The next principle is accounting period concept. Accounting period says कि a businessman has to maintain his business for a definite time period. The time period is called a financial year. As you know, our financial year starts from 1st April to 31st of March. So businessman can find out its true net profit or fair position of his business after the end of this time interval. This time interval is of 12 months. As you know, we have an accounting period from 1st April to 31st March. So this is accounting period concept. Next we have the cost concept. Cost concept means कि businessman has to record the original cost of its assets in the books of account at the price when he acquired the asset. That amount of asset is to be recorded. This is called the historical concept. कि for example, आज से 10 years पहले मैंने एक बिल्डिंग परचेज की थी 20 लाख रुपीज़ की एंड द करंट मार्केट प्राइस ऑफ दैट बिल्डिंग इज़ रुपीज़ 60 lakh. We will record only the value 20 lakhs in our books of account on the basis of historical concept कि whatever is the cost when we purchase the asset that is to be recorded in your books of accounts. So this is about the historical cost concept. We will not record the current market value of that asset. We have to record the purchase price at that time when we purchase the asset. Some justification for this concept is this cost is objectively verifiable because you have actually paid the amount for this transaction. So the cost is verifiable. It is justified by the going concern concept. As you know, going concern is that when I start my business, we have a thinking in mind that I will work for a long time duration. So just because of this, we will purchase the assets and record the historical cost. Market value is very difficult to determine for any asset, and the market value of any asset can be changed from time to time. So it is better to record the historical cost. Some drawbacks of this concept कि we are recording the past value. We are not recording the present value. So nothing will be recorded as the location, the name, reputation of the firm for which we have to purchase the assets. So we have to consider only the historical price. They said during the period of inflation, it is very difficult to find out the net profit or loss because the prices are changing very frequently at the time of inflation, because at the time of inflation, the prices of everything is very high. Information based upon the historical cost may not be useful to the management, to the investors or some other parties. Next principle is dual aspect concept. Dual aspect is double entry system. Means every transaction must have two aspects. One is in the debit side and the second one is in the credit side. As we had complete the accounts book, we will pass out the journal entry, prepare the cash book, and so many things we had done. All the things are to be maintained on the basis of double entry system. All the transaction must have two effect. One is in the debit and second one is in the credit side. As we have sorted out the accounting equation also, the asset is equal to capital and liability. So this effect is based on the dual aspect. Next we have revenue recognition. Revenue recognition is revenue means the amount which you actually realize from the business. Whether it is by providing some goods or providing some services, you will acquire some amount of money that is called the revenue realized from that particular thing. So at the end of the year, particular period, whatever is the revenue earned by the businessman is to be called as revenue realization or revenue recognition concept. For this, all the transactions are to be recorded, whether that transaction is to be done in this year और for which we will receive cash or not. मीन्स अगर आपने इस साल करंट ईयर में कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन की है, चाहे उससे आपको मनी नेक्स्ट ईयर में रिलाइज हो, नेक्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में कंसीडर हो, बट दैट ट्रांजेक्शन, दैट रेवेन्यू इज कॉल्ड टू बी द रेवेन्यू अर्न फॉर दिस ईयर. So we have to record this amount as revenue realized in this year. They give an example. For example, rent for the month of March 15 even is received in the April will be treated as financial year rent. कि मंथ है मार्च का, हम मार्च के मंथ का रेंट हम ऑब्वियसली अप्रैल में रिसीव करेंगे, तो बट फिर भी हम उसको इस साल का रिवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज कंसीडर करेंगे बिकॉज वी हैव टू रिसीव दैट इनकम इन दिस मंथ ऑफ मार्च. सो दिस इज द इनकम ऑफ दिस ईयर. सम रूल्स. सेल्स ऑन इंस्टॉलमेंट बेसिस आर टू बी कंसीडर एज रिवेन्यू रियलाइज्ड. द लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोजेक्ट्स जिसपे आपको रिवेन्यू लॉन्ग टाइम पीरियड में रियलाइज होगा, that is also to be considered as the part of your revenue for this current year. So this is revenue recognition. Next is the matching principle. Matching principle is an important principle for the determination of the net profit or income earned for the business. They said we have to match our revenue and the expenses. The revenue and expenses means the revenue and the cost realized on such revenue, the spent money on that revenue, जो भी हमने earn किया उसके ऊपर जो भी money हमने spend की है, at least they must be equal, so that we can say कि the expenses are at least equal to the income generated. So following points are to be considered for this matching concept. As per this, when we have to receive the item, it is to be included in the profit and loss account, as you know, whether they are paid or not. If any expenses of this nature, like अगर आप ये कह सकते हैं कोई आउटस्टैंडिंग एक्सपेंस है या प्रीपेड एक्सपेंस है, बट फिर भी हम उसको अपनी इनकम्स या एक्सपेंसेस में प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में आप उसको शो करते हो, चाहे उसके लिए आपने कैश पे किया हो या ना किया हो. सेम एज इट इज़, we have some expenses which are related to the next year, as they are known as prepaid expense, so we have to record the prepaid expenses also in our books of accounts. तो जितने भी prepaid expenses होते हैं, they are related to the next year, तो current year के profits या losses में से उसको reduce किया जाता है, because they are the part of the next year financial expenses. Next we have cost of goods remaining unsold. The name is closing stock is the cost of remaining unsold goods, जो कि at the end of the year आपके पास बची हुई हैं. So we have to carry forward that closing stock in the next year, that will be the opening stock of the next year. The next one is any income receivable must be added in the revenue, whether it is received in cash or not, or if you received any income in advance, that is to be reduced as from the profits and losses, as we had done in financial statement. Next we have the objectivity concept. As per this objectivity concept, the transactions should be recorded in the objective manner, means free from the personal biasness. Personal biasness means there is no kind of partialities can be done when you are making the accounts. So it is impossible because of the, you can say कि if we are recording the transaction on the basis of some documents or on the basis of voucher, it is very difficult for any person to be partial. Do some kind of biasness. तो अगर आपके पास हर ट्रांजेक्शन की प्रॉपर स्लिप्स है, बिल्स हैं, इनवॉइसेस हैं, मेमोज हैं, सो यू विल रिकॉर्ड ऑल द ट्रांजेक्शन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दीज इवेंट्स, दीज डॉक्यूमेंट्स, these vouchers. So it is very difficult for a person to do any kind of fraudulent activity. So this is objectivity concept. Next we have some accounting conventions. As accounting conventions is adopted by the journal agreement or the common consents among the accountants. The difference you can do by yourself. There are three kinds of convention: full disclosure, materiality, and conservatism. First is convention of full disclosure. As per this convention, we have to record each and every kind of transaction in our business, whether it is of small nature or is of big amount, because हर ट्रांजेक्शन किसी ना किसी पर्सन के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकती है. आपके बिजनेस में इन्वेस्टर्स, क्रेडिटर्स, एम्प्लॉयज़, बहुत सारे लोग इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं. सो इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अ बिजनेस मैन टू व्हेन ही इज़ रिकॉर्डिंग द ट्रांजेक्शन ऑफ हिज बिजनेस, चाहे वो बिग अमाउंट की हो, स्मॉल अमाउंट की हो, हर चीज़ को आपको रिकॉर्ड करना ज़रूरी है. मीन्स यू हैव टू डिस्क्लोज ईच एंड एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ योर ट्रांजेक्शन इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट to find out the profit or loss and maintaining the balance sheet. Some things are recorded as footnotes. As you know, the contingent liability, ये मैंने आपको फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में बताया था. कंटीजेंट लाइबिलिटी एक ऐसी लाइबिलिटी होती है जिसके रेयर ही चांस होते हैं राइज होने के, तो इसको हम अपनी बैलेंस शीट के फुटनोट्स में रिकॉर्ड करते हैं. द मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इज ऑल्सो टू बी रिकॉर्डेड इन द फुटनोट्स. द वैल्यू ऑफ स्टॉक, the provision for charging depreciation, doubtful debts, they are to be recorded in the balance sheet. Means we have to disclose these things also. So we have to disclose each and everything in our books of accounts as per this convention. Next we have convention of materiality. This is the opposite to the first disclosure. Means this is an exception to the full disclosure. As per this convention of materiality, they said कि we have to record only the material things in the books of account. All the irrelevant or unimportant things are not to be recorded. You should leave some unimportant or irrelevant thing when you are making your accounts. So उसका रिवर्स है, ये आप कह सकते हैं कि उसमें कहा हर चीज़ को completely disclose करना, बट materiality कहती है कि जो irrelevant और important चीज़ें, यूजलेस थिंग्स हमारे लिए हैं, उन चीज़ों को रिकॉर्ड करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. एक एग्जाम्पल दिया इन्होंने कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल ₹500 इन द वैल्यूएशन ऑफ स्टॉक मे बी रिकॉर्डेड एज इन मटीरियल. कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर ₹500 का स्टॉक का डिफरेंस आता है तो वो उसके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, बट अगर ₹500 का कैश का डिफरेंस आता है वो उसके लिए मटेरियल है, तो उसको सिर्फ मटेरियल चीज़ों को रिकॉर्ड करना है, इमटेरियल को नहीं. The last is convention of conservatism or prudence. As per this concept, a businessman should anticipate the future losses but not the incomes. Means future में आने वाले unexpected losses को आप पहले से ही consider कीजिए कि सडनली वो आपके सामने अराइज हो तो आपको डिफ़िकल्टी ना हो, बट इनकम्स को हम कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू आर मेकिंग प्रोविज़न फॉर बैड एंड डाउटफुल डेब्ट्स, you are charging depreciation by making provision for depreciation. So they all are the future anticipated losses जो फ्यूचर में हो सकते हैं, जिसके लिए आप पहले से ही अवेयर हैं और आप कुछ रिजर्व्स और प्रोविजंस बनाकर चल रहे हैं. दिस इज़ एज पर दिस कंसेप्ट, दिस इज कन्वेंशन ऑफ कंजर्वेटिज्म कि यू हैव टू कंसिडर द फ्यूचर एंटिसिपेटेड लॉसेज व्हेन यू आर मेंटेनिंग योर अकाउंट्स. सो जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस यू हैव टू रिकॉर्ड द क्लोजिंग स्टॉक एट द लेस प्राइस, cost or market. You have to make provision for debts, you have to take the insurance policy, you have to make provision for different kinds of suits. And the effect of this, when you are showing all these as your expenses, the profit and loss will show the actual profits. The balance sheet will be recorded understatement of assets and overstatement of liabilities because you are considering all the future uncertainties in your mind right now. So this is about this chapter, and from this my chapter or my syllabus is complete, and from the next week, from the Monday, I'll start my revision. So you just up to that, watch the video carefully and read out the chapter. Take care. Thank you so much.